Are you addicted to your smartphone? Can you go a week without using it? Can you go a day without using it? Smartphone addiction is a growing problem. In fact, a leading researcher looking at the data has asked, have smartphones destroyed a generation? Psychology professor Jean Twenge goes on to say that kids are now on the brink of a mental health crisis. Dr. Twenge has been studying generational differences for over 25 years. In the September 2017 issue of The Atlantic, she shared some startling observations. In her study of each generation since the 1930s, generational characteristics gradually emerged from the data. However, around 2012, it was as if there was an eruption in the data. She noticed abrupt shifts in teen behaviors and emotional states. In decades of analysis, she had never seen anything like it. Dr. Twenge then asks, what happened in 2012 to cause such dramatic shifts in behavior? She answers this by noting that it was exactly the moment when the proportion of Americans who owned a smartphone surpassed 50%. Professor Twenge goes on to observe that rates of teen depression and suicide have skyrocketed since 2011. It's not an exaggeration to describe kids and young adults as being on the brink of the worst mental health crisis in decades. Much of this deterioration can be traced to their phones. In addition to that, she notes that the twin rise of the smartphone and social media has caused an earthquake of a magnitude we've not seen in a very long time, if ever. There is compelling evidence that the devices we've placed in young people's hands are having profound effects on their lives and making them seriously unhappy. After further analysis and evidence, she goes on to write that the results could not be clearer. Teens who spend more time than average on screen activities are more likely to be unhappy. All screen activities are linked to less happiness, and all non-screen activities are linked to more happiness. Dr. Twenge's alarming findings were followed in early 2018 by some of Apple's billion-dollar investors. These investors began pressurizing Apple to address the growing public health crisis of youth phone addiction. They cited a growing body of evidence of unintentional negative side effects. For example, a 3-year study of a large sample of Australian teens found that their late-night mobile phone use was directly linked to poor quality sleep, which subsequently led to poorer mental health outcomes, reducing coping, and lowering self-esteem. The blue light from these devices is tremendously detrimental to sleep health. Apple attempted to address this issue in March 2016 by adding Night Shift as a feature to block blue light. Sadly, this button was moved and almost hidden in a later software update. Perhaps that's okay, because new research indicates that Apple's Night Shift doesn't work without turning down the brightness settings as well. Apple is just beginning to address usage issues. iOS 12's Screen Time feature will create daily and weekly activity reports that detail how long you spend in an app, how many notifications you receive, and how often you pick up your device. Apple's attempt at addressing the blue light issue was too little and too late. It's likely that Apple's late attempt to address the youth phone addiction will also be too little, too late.